Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, guys. Of course, we have all kinds of breaking news. It is very serious things that are going on. And as I'm fixing to get into here, I want to talk a little bit about this Mekudeshet that is going on in Israel, this ecumenical interfaith movement. And at the very time I'm about to speak to you about this, we could be having a major war that could erupt at any moment. The U.S.-led coalitions have struck the Syrian army. They were surrounded by ISIS. They didn't strike ISIS, they struck the Syrian army. So we'll have to wait and see how that's going to go. But, and I believed all along that we're going to have some kind of war. I believe Israel's going to get hit in this war as well and drive out, force the Jewish people out so the United Nations can take over. But let's get into something that the Father, God, just in His mercy has revealed to me, the Holy Spirit coming upon me in such a magnificent way this morning, showing me how prophecy is being fulfilled. Prophecy that you may not have ever thought about before. Let's take, though, I want to quickly take you over to Daniel chapter 11. And remind you of the scripture I shared with you the other day. That's verse 14. And as it states here, and in those days, one second here, because I want to pull it up in Hebrew for you as well, so that we have everything ready to go here for you. All right, here we go. Daniel 11, verse 14. And I'm going to use King James Version for you guys as well, and then, of course, compare that to the Hebrew language and what we have here. All right, so bear with me here. In the King James Version it says, "And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall." Okay? But in Hebrew, is that part about the robbers of thy people is worded a little different. It says, Uvane paratzi amcha. The paratzi is the lawless, or the uvane, which is the sons of the lawless of your people, Daniel's people, being Israelites. In other words, somewhere today here in Israel, we're going to have some lawless people. We've given some different opinions on that, including starting with Shimon Peres, going all the way up till modern days, of the lawless of the people here in Israel. Inasu lachamit hazon veniki shalu. What are they doing? They are trying to marry the vision, but they will stumble or they will fall as a result. Now, I want to state something to you here real quick before we get into this. When it comes to when it comes to Zionism, there's two types of Zionism, and clearly there was a Zionist movement that was at the beginning of the creation of the state of Israel that was not of God. Now I say that though, but keep this in mind. In order to get the state created so that the remnant of Israel that will believe that in the Yeshua being the Messiah, we had to have the state created regardless of how evil the intention was from the beginning. But when the Rothschilds, for example, come and purchase a lot of land here, and when the wars that were trying to take, in the Independence War, they were trying to take Jerusalem. Nothing wrong with that, but I seen myself from personal testimony of people that were involved in that, the Bielski family, etc., that clearly let me know that there was some other authority trying to gain control of this land here. So I understand and I realize even to this day there are powers, there are sons of the lawless here in Israel that are up to no good. They would sell the country out for a mess of pottage. They would actually take and give it to the Vatican and make a United Nations force here in Jerusalem and throw the Jewish people out. But at the same time, guys, you have to understand that there is a remnant of Israel that has come home. There are many, even like the Bielski family, when they came here, Tuvia Bielski, he refused to be a part of a system that was willing to harm his own people after rescuing 1,200 Jews during the Holocaust in Belarus. So I admire this type of the Jewish people that have actually come home, and they, as we know the stories, thousands of them were turned away during the Holocaust when they were trying to flee, coming in on boats, sending them back to their deaths. Even the United States did the same thing, turning a ship around or only allowing, I think the U.S. allowed such a small number when so many more were trying to get there, and they all perished in concentration camps instead. So, there is just obvious that there was something political going on trying to stop the genuine Jewish people from getting to this land, and instead, in the background, the Vatican was very much working on trying to get control of this land, even at that time there. But as the honest to goodness Jewish people that got here, that love God and want to see the Messiah and have come here for the purpose of that, that has kind of thrown a monkey wrench in the whole mix here, and it has slowed down their process, and it has hindered the ability of Rome getting full control of this land. Now, I just wanted to kind of state that, to clarify that as we go into this. But going back here to Daniel 14 in chapter 11, verse 14, Inasu, this is, they're trying to marry the vision, Lahamid, to marry the vision, Chazon. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to marry it. Now, what's fascinating is the word Mekudeshet, which is what the Vatican is sponsoring, this ecumenical movement that is going on here in Israel right now. That Mekudeshet is as well, it means in the Hebrew language sacred, or as an adjective, it is used as betrothed, or to marry that vision. But the question is, and I brought this out the other day, I said I'd do a little bit more research on this because I really wanted to know for sure which vision is Daniel speaking about. Well, here's the interesting thing. If Daniel says they're trying to marry the vision, perhaps it's Daniel's vision that he'd got. He already knows about the vision. Well, sure enough, it is. That's exactly what it is. They are trying to marry the vision. And if we take Daniel and we go over here to chapter 9, this is where we find out which vision they are actually trying to marry. Look at the Daniel 9 and verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. All right, what do they mean by they're trying to marry the vision? The Mekudeshet, they're betrothing, but what did we cover the other night right there at the YMCA and the basketball court? Their reconciliation. That's what a forgiveness thing is all about. They're trying to reconcile their differences. Jews, Muslims, and Christians gathered into the same building trying to marry the vision. They're trying to bring it to pass. And that's the vision they're trying to marry. They're in the stage of reconciliation. All right, now, that might make you think then, and I wasn't planning on bringing this part out, but let's just quickly go to it, guys. Go to Matthew 24, the famed vision of Yeshua there, or prophecy that he speaks about right here, is when he talks about this here. Let me get down to the right part here. Let's see, but let's back it up. Let's start with verse 10. And then shall many be offended and betray. Let me just back up. Take heed, verse 4, that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And there's been a heck of a lot of popes too, by the way, and they all claim to take Peter's place, and they have deceived many people. How many millions, or is it billions, to 1.2 billion Catholics? It's a lot of people being deceived. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Now watch this. See that you be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So at the time that Daniel's vision is getting ready to be, that they're trying to fulfill it, the sons of the lawless that we see in Daniel 11, the vision they're trying to marry is Daniel 9, chapter 9, and again, verse 24, as it states right here, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, make reconciliation for iniquity, and bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy. That's the vision Daniel's talking about. But Yeshua mentions that there is going to be nation rising against nation at the same time that this vision is being married. Now, how do we know this? Because watch. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and hate one another. Many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. How many of them out there claiming to be Moses and Elijah? My gosh, it's ridiculous. And because iniquity shall bound, the love of many shall wax cold, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached to all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. What gospel? The gospel that Yeshua brought 2,000 years ago. The two witnesses themselves will bring about that true, pure, unadulterated gospel that he preached. Not how many thousands of denominations do we have? I mean, seriously, friends, that's why he says he sends two witnesses, not two Baptists, not two Methodists, not two Mormons, not two whatever else you might have out there. And no offense to any of the denominational people, because God does say, come out of her, my people. And unfortunately, you're going to have to come out of even all these other branches, because why? They're all joining back up with Mother Rome. Why? Because they're trying to marry the vision, bringing reconciliation, but they know the reconciliation has to be with the Jews. That's why they're doing it right here in Jerusalem. It's going to get better, guys. You haven't seen nothing yet. All right. When you therefore, now watch this. This is how you know that he's talking about Daniel's prophecy as well. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Let them that which be in Judea flee into the mountains. All right, so we know then now that all this is speaking about Daniel. And not only that, like I said, what does he say? There are going to be wars and rumors of wars. Nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And what are they doing right now? Just now, the U.S. coalition is bombing the Syrian army instead of ISIS that has them surrounded. Guys, man, it's getting crazy over here. But it's prophetic. It's got to happen. All right? So, now, let's take that. You got that one already. Now, let's jump over to Matthew 13. This is one that you probably haven't thought about, especially in light of marrying the vision, and we see that Mekudeshet is espousing and everything else. I never thought about this before at all. And this morning, I had to really give my brother Vincent a pat on the back. The brother sent me a very interesting revelation that he had about the hook and the hook in the jaw, and what his thought was. And he believes that the hook in the jaw is bringing Russia down against Israel. Now, could it be Russia? Sure, it could be Russia. Could it be the United States? I think it could be the United States as well. He mentioned how he felt like that the sanctions on Russia would force Russia to come down here and take everything from Israel. But you have to remember, we know that all nations are going to come against Israel. So something's got to change in this country here that's going to make everybody hate Israel, including the United States, in fact. Even though the United States right now is playing that they're going to take care of Russia, what's going to happen? If Hillary Clinton gets in, will she turn against Israel? She's had some pretty nasty things to say about them before. Right now she's just playing politics. But she's had some really nasty things to say about this country. So, now, but one thing that Brother Vincent said, though, that caught my attention was he said, Russia's got the sanctions. They're really hard for money, etc. That's not it. Russia owns 30% of all the world's natural resources are in Russia. Russia is nearly completely debt-free. Not totally, but nearly debt-free as a country. Yeah, the people are poor. I agree with that. The rich are rich and the people are poor that live in the country. That's true. But even the Chinese President Xi said that the Russian economy is something that should be a model for the entire world. But who is in debt? The United States, at the tune of nearly $20 trillion. And by the time Obama leaves office, it will be $20 trillion. The U.S. dollar is totally valueless. If it loses its status as the world, the currency that is being used for the world, and we can no longer, as Americans, use our money as buying oil, our dollars, because we can just print as much as we want, and it loses its reserve status, somebody else is going to take its place. What about the Russian ruble? That's backed by gold. Even the Japanese yen is far stronger than the U.S. dollar. In all the other countries, they can't just print money and gold. They have to have something to back up their money. All right, that's just a thought. So anyway, and you got to remember too, when the prophecy there in Ezekiel 38, it says hooks plural, jaws plural. So it's not just one nation. It's not just Russia being drawn down, but it's a bunch of nations. Now I know it says a lot of them come with them. They believe it's going to be Iran, etc. And it may be, friends. I'm not going to say it's not. But you got to remember, the United States is also due north of Israel as well. Just goes a little further right over the top of the globe, and you're right there into the United States. All right, let's go on though. That's not really what I wanted to touch on myself. And again, Matthew chapter 13, let's drop down to verse 24. And this is where I want to share with you. And another parable put forth unto them, saying, this is Yeshua now speaking, Jesus. The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man who sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? And he said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn, but gather the wheat into my barn. Friends, oh my gosh, the Father, He sent the Holy Spirit come upon me this morning in a mighty way and begin to reveal what this actually is. Oh, this is just fascinating. What is it here? Yeshua was the very man. Jesus of Nazareth was the one that came and sowed the seeds here in Israel. And it was good seed. But while the men slept, which was not only Jesus, because remember, what did he say to them? They were to be fishers of men. All right? That's what he says to Peter, right? When he comes down there to Peter and Simon, and he says, or a couple of the brothers there, and he says, I will make you fishers of men. Right? Is that not right? So he does. But now, according to, and of course, they went on planting the seed, the disciples, and the gospel spread throughout the entire world. But after the death of Peter and a lot of the apostles, as Paul even said, many grievous wolves have entered in among us. And then before you know it, they had the Rome, 325 AD, they brought the Roman Catholic Church in. That's where it had its birth at. And they claimed to be the successor of Peter. What is that? A fisher of men. They got a little old fish hat on there that the Pope wears. And what's he done? He's come and he's planted the tares, the ungodly weeds here even in Israel. But the thing is the wheat is also here in Israel. And notice when it says, while the men slept. Remember when Yeshua was talking about Lazarus when he died, and he says to his apostles, he sleepeth. They said, well, he doeth well if he sleeps. He said, no. He said, he made it plain. He said, he's dead. And since Yeshua, he died. Of course, he raised again, and the apostles all died. In other words, they're asleep. It's a metaphor. And while they slept, what happened? The fishers of men that were carrying that pure gospel got replaced by a bunch of wolves wearing a bunch of fish hats running around, and they've planted a bunch of tares here. In fact, they've planted them all over the world, but a lot of them, including Israel, because what did they do? They tried to slip in some They took Jewish people, converts, no doubt, even during the Holocaust. They brought them in here and planted a bunch of tares here in Israel. And so when the men came back, notice that. Notice what the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in thy field? The servants. I think it's the two witnesses. I don't know, but maybe. They've come here, and what do they find out? They said it's like they're saying in prayer to Yeshua, I thought you planted the good seed here. But he said the evil one came in and he planted a bunch of tares in here. And that's what this Mekudeshet is all about. That's a bunch of tares in here, a bunch of weeds growing amongst the wheat. But let me tell you something, friends. There are some real, genuine Jewish people that live in this country here that let them get a hold of the true gospel of Yeshua. When I say true gospel, what I mean is let them get rid of all these different isms and stuff out here and just accept Jesus Christ for what He come for, and you'll see a revival like you never saw. The only thing is, it has to be at their time. Remember, Paul said in Romans chapter 11 that they were blinded for your sake until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Yeshua said the same thing. He talks about the fullness of the Gentiles. We may be at that time where that fullness is coming in. And now we're seeing prophecy on top of prophecy being fulfilled. And here we are with the wars and rumors of wars at the same time. And the vision they're trying to marry that's in Daniel chapter 11 is happening right before our eyes here. As we see the Mekudeshet, they're trying to betroth one another. And that vision, as I stated before, I'll remind you again, Daniel chapter 9. And that's verse, 24, I believe it was right here. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity. See, they're trying to end their sins. What did they tell us at that Mekudeshet meeting the other day when my wife kept pressuring that guy? He said, we're confessing our sins. Trying to marry the vision, aren't you? God said, by Daniel you'll fall. And you know what's interesting is He told Daniel to seal up the book. It'll be revealed in the end. And by the way, those of you that don't know Daniel 12 where He says that, and Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was in a nation in even that same time. In that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Sound like judgment day there. That's after the two witnesses are killed. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book. It's for the end of the time. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be unto the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he had held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by Him that liveth forever and ever. It should be times and a half a time, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the holy power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. And I heard and I understood not, for then, and I said, O my Lord, what shall the end of these things be? And He said, go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end. Do you realize that He just gave you a perfect analogy of the two witnesses of Revelation? And there it spoke about the two olive branches on either side of the golden lampstand, which is in Zechariah. And Revelation 11 says these two witnesses were the two olive branches. And of course, what was it? Moses and Elijah standing on either side of Yeshua. Was that not right? And here we have it again. The man up in the heaven, and one man on one side of the river, the other one on there, and the man standing there, sitting there saying, the time is no more, and he's got his two witnesses there. And what are those two witnesses doing? They're helping you to understand what these Daniel 9, all this is all about. Guys, it's about to break forth. And I'll give you one in closing. I just want to quickly give you one more. Obadiah, only one chapter. Verse 21, and Savior shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. Who are those Saviors or deliverers? Those deliverers are your two witnesses. They go on what? Mount Zion to do what? Judge the Mount of Esau. In other words, the prophet Obadiah calls Mount Zion the Mount of Esau because the Pope of Rome, according to verse 16 there, went and drank upon his holy mountain, and all the nations have continually drank there, holding their mass, holding their communion there, and God will bring judgment through His two witnesses, and it will begin on Mount Zion, and that's exactly where He'll start there to bring judgment on Rome, on Esau, for turning the Mount Zion into a Roman fortress. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. It's getting more and more interesting. By the way, guys, take and share this video. Share it everywhere. We have noticed we are really getting hit heavily. They're trying to suppress everything. They have suppressed our Facebook page where it's normally constantly flowing with people there on Israeli News Live on Facebook. Share everything you possibly can. They are now trying to suppress even our YouTube channel. We are seeing, a major fall, and they're trying to hide it. And gosh, If God lays it on your heart too and you want to support this ministry, we thank you for that. God bless you. We love you. Thank you for watching. Get it to everybody you possibly can. Shalom from Israel, Jerusalem. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun with Israeli News Live.